I don't really remember a time I didn't have back pain. It just has always been there. Soccer was something that I didn't want to give up for the back pain, and that's why I just kept pushing through it, even though I kind of knew something was wrong. It's definitely something that I could get away from the back pain with, but kind of also something that would make it worse. But just little things of I would bend down and crack my back every time we would get a drink of water, or sleeping, whenever we had tough games, sleeping was harder. I would never sleep through the night. I would wake up and I would lay in these crazy positions that would try to put my back in the right place. I grew up just around soccer. My two brothers played. We're kind of like soccer junkies. Every single day after school, we would go home and we'd go in the backyard and we'd play goalie wars till dinner, or we would go downstairs and play 1v1 in this tiniest space we had in our basement. So we just grew up around it, and my brother played collegiately, and my little brother plays, and it just is something that kind of bonded us. I kind of always wanted to play collegiately. There was no doubt that I wanted to play. When you get shown all the stuff they have at Purdue and all the opportunities you can have and who you could be representing and playing for, and when they tell you that they want you to come and play, it's an awesome feeling. And to commit and then come here and just live the experience that they said is awesome.
I obviously have kind of a unique perspective when it comes to working with our soccer team. As a former collegiate soccer player myself, I actually also do color commentary for the team at times, so I spend a lot of time watching their games and analyzing their games at times, and I was impressed with Sarah from the get-go. She's a rare talent, and to see that freshman year, I just remember feeling so excited, okay, this girl's about to be good.
The whole time I kind of had back pain. I think I sat out only 2 practices with it, but when collegiately everything's ramped up, so my back pain was ramped up by a lot. But when you're in the moment and you're playing for a team and it takes so much dedication, you don't want to stop because of back pain. And I kind of knew if I were to stop and get an x-ray, I knew something was going to be on there, and I didn't want to stop playing.
It kind of crept up at first. It was can we manage it? She was in a ton of pain, but it seemed okay, we can manage it at this point. She'll do rehab, we'll just get through it. And it became pretty clear pretty quickly that we could not just get through it. She was having trouble, obviously at practice, but even just walking around, going to class, sitting through a class, and the pain became so unmanageable that it was clear that something would have to be done.
I was going into my sophomore season and I had all these things I wanted to work on. I remember it was the week we came back from spring break, and I remember being at practice, and after practice I just broke down. I remember crying to my teammates and trying to be discreet about it, and then that's when I realized I had to talk to my trainer, Gina, at the time, and that's when we kind of decided to get an x-ray because it just got so much worse so fast. Between the time I got my diagnosis and the time I decided to have surgery, we tried 5 spinal injection procedures. We did 2 months of a traction program that would help the curvature of my spine. There was multiple ER visits. It was a really hard time. Those 5 months were extremely hard because it was just doctor after doctor, and no one gave you what you wanted to hear. Everyone had a different opinion about how to treat my back, and it was just so many hours in a car to get there, and for a doctor to tell you, you probably won't play again. You should do this, not this, and then you do literally we tried every procedure in the book. I had steroid injections, cortisone, epidural. We tried a trial nerve burning procedure. Traction was not easy. It was you sat in this contraption, I guess, and it would realign your spine for 20 minutes, and then you would do it every day, and hopefully the curvature of your spine would change. But after you do so many procedures, that's kind of when I started breaking down. By the time the 5 months ended, I had just been through so much. It was I was so tired of being poked with needles, and I'd lost 30 pounds by the end of the summer, My hair was falling out, I was on every medication in the book. I was just like, it felt like I was like beat up, like I was just so done. By the end of the summer, my 5th injection procedure, I remember, being on the table and they didn't put me out. I remember just like breaking down, laying there, and I couldn't even move because there was a needle in my spine, and I think that was the point where I just like broke down. And it was like, at that point, it was kind of more like, I just need to like live like just a normal life. Like, it wasn't even about soccer anymore. It was more like, I just need to like go to classes and like get through my day. With spondylolisthesis, they have to fuse your spine together. So my lumbar portion of my spine, they kind of fused it into one bone. They used, I think, 4 screws, 2 rods, and a cage. At that point, my body was so weak, like just going into surgery, I think I was 110 pounds. Walking upstairs was hard because I was just so tired and broken down. And I remember recovering in the hospital, and like I would try to get up from my bed and stand up next to my bed and just like black out. And it was like that for a couple days. And each day I would go farther and like make it farther, so I just had to keep going. But like every single time I would just black out because I was just so weak and tired, and I was trying to push through it, but it was really hard. When I got back on campus, that's when I started meeting with Lauren Link. I was really open with her about everything that I was going through, and I told her it felt like I was just like in this loop, like I'm supposed to start recovering, but my body wasn't matching that, and I was still trying to get off medication, and my hair was falling out from the medication, and it just felt like I was stuck, and I wanted to get better, but I couldn't. It was like once I would get the surgery, I would start getting better, but then I kind of forgot about all the just trauma that I had to kind of get over. We started laying out a plan, and I had told her that I was, trying to run and trying to do these things, and, I would just black out, or I'd get dizzy, or I'd get really hot and just have no energy to do it because I wasn't eating right. I was finally hitting the point where I could be way more active than I was, and my body wasn't matching that.
She was frustrated, she was emotionally drained, she was miserable, she was in pain, and at some point I posed the question, do you want to play soccer anymore? And truthfully thinking that her answer would be no, but it was the opposite.
I want to play pro, like I want to play after school, I want to be, like I want to win a championship. Like I had all these goals. She was just like, are you matching that? Like, are you eating enough to get there? Are you taking care of your body enough to get there? And that's when I was like, I have all this stuff I want to do, and I can't do it because I'm not, taking care of my body. And I think that's when it clicked for me that like I had to start treating myself right.
I think she was just more purposeful with getting more meals in, with a better routine, like waking up, having breakfast, planning some snacks out. We were finally starting to wean off certain medications at that point, and that helped with sleep and caffeine intake and things like that. There was just so many moving parts to everything, but I think finally getting enough calories in her was huge. She started to see the weight come back on. She started to feel a lot better, not just when she would rehab with her athletic trainer, but also, in class, and to be able to focus in class and to focus during homework hours at night. I think she just started to finally feel better.
I lost my formation. Oh, that was a good one.
She had to relearn how to fall. She had to learn how to kind of take a bump and take a hit from another player. So it was, to get back to soccer, even when we got there, it felt like, oh my gosh, this is another huge undertaking.
And I worked so hard to get my strength up with just my leg and my core strength. I worked so hard for that, and I just had to trust that everything I was doing was, was going to help it, and I was going to be fine. I was putting on muscle, and I felt like okay, I'm not just like this weak, fatigued girl anymore. Like, I can do this. Like, I can play D1 soccer with a few spine. Rehab started to get a lot more positive, and just everything kind of felt like myself again that spring semester. And then I think March I got cleared, and it was like, okay, this is it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful West Lafayette, Indiana. We join you live from Folk Field, where the Purdue Boilermakers are set to take on the University of Georgia Bulldogs in the first game of the regular season.
Going into that game, I was definitely nervous. It was going to be a hard game. Georgia's a really good team. All of a sudden, it was the last 10 minutes of the game, and we were still tied. And I remember thinking, like, we have to do this. Like, we played such a good game. Like, we got to win. And Maya, who was injured too and went through a lot of this with me, she made this huge tackle in the midfield, and Tegan dribbled it up and laid it off to me. It was like I hit the ball with every ounce of anger and doubt and just being mad for the past 18 months.
And how about the junior who returns after a red-shirted season due to injury, comes back and gets it?
It was definitely a moment where I just felt like I finally had gone through it. Like, all the weight's been lifted. I did it. There's no more doubts. Like, I'm back.
This whole experience, I think, has been a good reminder for me just how important relationships are. If I don't have that relationship with her and I'm not around at some of the practices, the lifts, on a trip, when they're traveling at a game, I don't know that she opens up like that. And I think it all just goes back to what Purdue preaches all the time, which is family. Her and I have talked a lot over the past now 6 or so months where we don't have to meet nearly as frequently. She's in a really good place, but have still talked about, okay, how can you be a good leader in this regard? Because we're always going to have that undercurrent of whether it's diet culture or just young kids on a team that don't know how to fuel their bodies correctly. And I think it's been really cool to see her run with that. And she has. She's absolutely been the one who's saying, okay, guys, like, make sure that we're eating enough, make sure that you have a carbohydrate on your plate, make sure that we get our post-workout in. It's just been really cool for me to see her take that leadership role in general, and especially from a nutrition front, which is like dream come true for a dietitian, to see those upperclassmen really own it.
When I was going through the injections and the procedures, like, it kind of had felt like I had no strength left in me going into the surgery, and you truly don't know how much strength you have until you're faced with something so big and something that you love is put on the line. And, I knew I was strong and I knew I could get through it, but, it takes a lot out of you, and you do learn a lot about yourself.